Hello, and welcome to Project Management for Beginners. My name is Erica Chung, and I'm the founder of Anyone Can Project Manage, and I've been a project manager in consulting, nonprofit, and government. So, lots of project management, a lot of information that I am now sharing with all of you in this free course. It is especially geared towards folks who may not be a project manager explicitly, but do a lot of project management in their everyday jobs. So, in this entirely free course, you're going to learn how to identify and distill down useful information from meetings, from documents, from emails, create a project management tracker that works just for you, and also learn how to manage multiplayer meetings and projects with confidence. So, without further ado, let's get started. Of course, the first step to any successful project managing is understanding your project. It is three very, very simple words with a lot of nuance. So let's get into it. What is it that you're project managing? The first thing that you really need to situate yourself with is the scope of work. Every single project is going to have its history, have its origins, and as a project manager, you are going to need to know the content of your project and where your project is coming from. For some projects that you're managing, they may be grant funded. And so I would encourage you to track down the grant and familiarize yourself with the materials in there. Other projects might, be client funded and have an explicit scope of work. If that is you, you are incredibly lucky. All of the information that you need is written in the scope of work. If you're interested in really learning what details and how to read a scope of work and understand it, I will have another video that you can visit and get an understanding of how to walk through a scope of work, how to walk through a grant, and really identify the pieces that you'll need. But it is imperative that you really understand both the past and present and future of what the project, where the project was, where it is now, and where it's going to be going, because you want to know all of this information so that you have the right content and context for moving forward with the project. The second thing that you'll really, really need to understand when it comes to your project managing is the timeline. And what do I mean by that? I mean, how long will the project be? On projects that I've managed, some projects are 2 months, some projects are 4 months, some projects are, 2 to 3 years. And so in a lot of instances, these projects are split into different parts with different deliverables. And you will need to know for each part how long is the specific part and what are the deliverables that you'll need to be responsible for completing by that timeline. All of this information is going to be inside your scope of work or your grant, or if that information is not there, that is something that you should talk to your supervisor about so that you really understand what timelines that you're dealing with. You don't want to be surprised and have somebody tell you you need a report, but they don't give you a timeline, or have you finish a project and they don't give you a timeline, and suddenly they're asking for it, 2 weeks from now, when the project itself should really take 6 months. So it's really, really important to nail down the timeline, and not just nail down the timeline, but make sure that everybody who is on your team and who is a part of this project is aware of the timeline and also in consensus, and that they are agreeing with it, and that they're not going to, pull any unpredictable timelines your way. And of course, another major part of project management is understanding who exactly you're going to be working with, especially if there are partners involved. And by partners, I don't mean folks who are internal to your organization, but who you're working with external to your organization. On some smaller projects, it may just be one person from a different organization or just one organization. In some other larger projects, it might be multiple different organizations with many team members in all of those, and that will make it more difficult to juggle scheduling, juggling meetings, juggling agendas. So it's really important to know how large your partnership is going to be, and that is going to help you prepare and allocate the number of hours that you're going to need to project manage. And it's also just going to give you a really good foundation for yourself when you walk in, so that you're prepared and that you know what exactly you're going to be dealing with when you walk into managing this project. And of course, um, we have external partners, but we also have internal teammates as well. Most likely, if you're going to be managing a project, if it's really small, maybe it's yourself and a few other teammates, but generally it's going to be a fairly large team that you're going to be working with. And it's really important to know who exactly you're going to be working with. In some projects, it might be someone that you have worked with a lot already and understand their style of work. In other instances, it might be somebody or lots of somebodies that you haven't worked with beforehand. So it's really helpful to take a look and ask yourself, have you worked with this person beforehand? If so, do you know their working style? If you haven't worked with the person beforehand, now is a great time to do some reconnaissance. And what I mean is get an idea of who you're working with. You can do this in one of two ways. The first one is to call a very informal meeting or do a very informal one-on-one meet and greet with the person that you're going to be working with. This takes a little bit more time, of course. So I would say if you have a large project that you're working on with a lot of people, this might not be the best way to go. But if you have a small project and you're only working with a couple of internal people, this is a great way to actually get to know someone, to build rapport, to increase your network, and to really understand and get to talk about, what is their working style, how can you best collaborate and work together. Option two is to ask around and see what other folks on your team have experience working with this person, or any advice or wisdom that they might be able to pass on to you. I cannot emphasize how important it is that you do the work in understanding who you're going to be working with, because that is going to make your life so much easier. Even if it is maybe a difficult person to work with, at least you're going to be walking into it aware of that. And of course, the last thing that you're going to want to think about when you're starting off just reading through and getting into the introductory phase of your project is thinking through any potential problems that might occur. What do I mean by this? Sometimes the conflicts are between colleagues and they're interpersonal conflicts. I have been in many projects and managing a lot of projects where there are tension between, two different organizations or two different individuals. Understanding that you can still work through the tension and still find a way to collaborate is really important. So don't give up if right off the bat you see or you hear or you sense that these two individuals or multiple individuals or organizations are unhappy to work with each other. Trust in your ability to work with these groups, trust in your ability to project manage and to resolution and come to a resolution for conflicts well. I promise you that you can do it. Some other problems that might arise are, capacity when it comes to roadblocks or challenges that might come up with like financial concerns or, holidays, different timelines, all of that. So it's really important when you're first getting your feet wet into your project that you're going to be managing to take a look and think about some of the potential problems that might arise, or to talk to your supervisor and talk to your team and have a debrief of what do you think might be some potential problems, or what are things that you need to be aware of when you're going in to project manage this project from the start. And of course, moving into the next step is timeline mapping. This is actually probably the most important step of the whole process. This is a step where you're going to put all the puzzle pieces together that you just took all your information from, deliverables, partners, deadlines, and really understand the whole picture of the project that you're going to be managing. So I am going to wrap up here, and we will see you in part 2. for timeline mapping. And as always, if you found this video to be informative, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And please let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer all of them.